Welcome into RedRaiders.com. I'm Krista Pirtle. We're going to talk a little Texas Tech hoops. If you could not tell from what's behind me, Texas Tech is coming off a really good win against Nicholls State. Coach Beard mentioned that contest was probably the most consistent he's seen out of his guys. They played well despite having a really big lead, and that's what you want to see from a basketball team. But now the Red Raiders are taking on their first true road test of the season, as they're probably already in Virginia as they get ready to take on Richmond tomorrow morning. That is Saturday at 11:30 a.m. on ESPNU. Now we're going to look at a few takeaways from this Nicholls State game, and Nicholls State and Richmond are a little similar. One thing, they both run zone defense. Now, Richmond last year ran a lot of a matchup zone. This year they've added more man-to-man defense, but they will run quite a bit of zone. Nicholls State also ran a zone, and we're going to show you how Texas Tech really went against that and broke it down. The first way is that they drove and they kicked it out, because as you can see, they've got 2 here, 3 here. Texas Tech could have just been content to stay outside the perimeter and chunk up the 3, but instead they attacked the zone and made them make a decision. So they're just outside. Keenan goes in a bit, goes out, gives it to Anthony, goes to the other side. See, there's 4 out, 1 in. Keenan's going to attack, and right there, this guy has to make the decision for what Keenan is going to do. If he wouldn't have come in on him, then Keenan could have shot, or if he would have bit, he could have passed it over to Anthony. But because this guy collapsed on him, Naeem is wide open for a 3-pointer, and watch Shotty. Already celebrating, knew that was going down. So the second thing against a zone is going inside out. You saw the drive and kick, that's kind of inside out, but here there's your 4 out, and then Anthony is going to go in sometimes, so you've got a 4 out, 1 in type situation against this zone. And you want that 1 inside because you see this gap right here. That's going to create some things which Anthony is going to show you in a couple seconds. So lots of motion against this zone. You do not want to be stagnant. There he is. Anthony goes inside right here. You've got great spacing by everyone else. Zach stays in the short corner because that's really a money spot against a zone. Keenan's right here. Devin's right here. Naeem is over here. He could go over a little bit, but right now he doesn't need to. So Anthony catches the ball. Look what he does to the zone, his presence. 1, 2, 3, probably going over, and he's paying attention. So that's multiple guys on Anthony, which means so many others are open. Anthony sees that. C4 end up collapsing on him because Anthony is such a great passing big man. He can make that pass out to Keenan, who has just been lights out so far. I think in a career high 5 straight games for Keenan, he has scored in double figures, so that is huge for Keenan so far. And then one more thing against the zone, we've talked about going inside and such. One thing that Keenan did is he attacked it a bit and made them choose. If you're just going to settle for passing around the perimeter and taking a mid-range jump shot, that's fine, but it's not going to be as effective as getting those high percentage shots around the basket, and that's what happens when you attack a zone. So it's going to happen with Naeem out here. They're going to reverse it, make the zone move. Naeem gets it. He attacks him. He doesn't really pick him up, so he goes and scores. So if Richmond plays a lot of this matchup zone defense, watch and see how Texas Tech really attacks the guy that's defending them, because one thing where zone differs from man defense, you're guarding a man. Zone defense, you're guarding an area of the court. So when the Red Raiders attack, that defense has to decide if they're going to pick him up or not, and that indecisiveness can allow for some more ways for Texas Tech to create. Now, one thing that they missed was a dunk against Nicholls State, and you might think, well, they had 4. They didn't really miss one. Yes, they did. So we'll show you for a second, and Coach Beard was all over it. He definitely knew what was coming. So here it is. Your same pretty much set. You've got Devin, Thomas, Anthony, Zach, and someone's probably in that corner. So now instead of having your 4 out, 1 in, they've got Zach kind of hanging out back here. And one thing about it being Zach hanging out back here is that Coach Beard has mentioned this quite a few times, is Zach plays up here, and so that adds a whole other area that the Red Raiders can play at that the defense just can't do. So if you'll watch it here, it's going to go to Thomas, then Anthony's going to get it, bam, right here. he's fixing to throw a bounce pass to Zach. But one thing that Beard, watch him right here, is fixing to say is that, see, this kid isn't super committed to Zach. He probably doesn't care, and he has to choose between Shoddy and Zach. But one thing that he can do is lob it, and then Zach can throw it down. It doesn't really happen. And see, Beard's telling him, go up with the ball. That's one thing, if Zach is any option down close, go up with the basketball, because it's going to be just a nasty dunk probably. It was good to see Zach back from his ankle injury. Aaron Ross got a few minutes, so Texas Tech is starting to get back healthy at the right time. So that was offensively what Texas Tech does. Now defensively, they're going to go up against another really motion offense. Richmond runs a Princeton-style offense, which has a lot of backdoor cuts. Nicholls State runs a motion offense, so they're having to defend a lot of action. Now, when I say motion offense, it means that when like this guy has the ball, these guys aren't just standing around waiting for him to do something on his own. They're cutting, they're screening, they're doing whatever they can to also get themselves open. One thing that you can watch with Texas Tech, this game they only had 6 fouls. A key to that, I asked Keenan about it afterwards, and he said, we keep our hands up. So one thing, it was a couple years ago when the NCAA said, okay, this hand checking thing, we got to cut it out. Watch, Shoddy is right here. Watch him. He's going to go up on the ball in a second, and his hands are up the whole time. His defense is there. He's right on his man. He's moving his feet, but his hands are up, so he is not going to foul him. So he's running over that way. There he is. This guy catches. Now watch his hands. They're up, up. Good defensive pressure. That was a great defensive production for Texas Tech. Now secondly, with this motion style offense that Texas Tech is guarding, they're going to have to use some rotations in the help side. That's going to happen when a guy gets beat. We've talked about that before, but Justin Gray did a great job of that against Nicholls State. So Justin, if you don't recognize him, it's because the blonde is gone. So this is now Justin Gray. You're going to have to get used to it for a bit. So Justin, his man is out this way. There's Zach's guy, Ross's guy, Naeem, and Keenan. All right. So watch. As Zach's guy becomes 2 passes away, as this guy goes off this screen, he's going to go more towards the lane and help side defense, and that's good. If Justin was just paying attention to his man, then Nicholls State would get a bucket. But because Justin is playing good defense, they get a great stop. See, he slides over, and he wasn't moving when, I think that's Liam Thomas hits him. And one thing that's also key, this is the restricted area. Justin's feet are outside that restricted area. So it is a charge. If his feet were inside that area, it would be called a block. We're going to see it in a second on the replay because you just see how quick he moves. It's a heads-up play. Bam, he's set. Feet are outside the restricted area. That's a charge. You're going to see that. You're going to want to see that a lot from Texas Tech. Now, this wouldn't be a great wrap-up show from the Nicholls State game if we didn't show you all of the dunks that happened because they were quite fantastic. One thing on this dunk, I gotta advance it a bit. This is Keenan Evans right here. Just watch him. It's fantastic. Naeem throws it down. Now watch Keenan. He's just a little pumped up after that one. I asked him afterwards which dunk was his favorite. He said he liked that one, but he couldn't choose, and it's really hard to choose when you've got guys like Justin and Zach just throwing down nastiness like this. And then Zach's going to get one in a second. And then Justin's just going to annihilate this poor kid. And while all that's great, one thing to watch, Lawrence Odiase, while Ross is back, Zach is back, Lawrence is still working to come back. They're hoping maybe the Iowa State game he can play. So he's not sitting on the end of the bench pouting about his bad luck right now. Watch him as they go to a timeout. He finds his boys and is all over them. That's what you want to see. That's the kind of teamwork, the unselfishness you want to see from a group, especially early on. Now that was a lot. We're going to have a lot more analysis in the paper on Richmond, so you'll want to check that out on LubbockOnline.com and RedRaiders.com. I'm Krista Pirtle. Thanks for watching.